Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening. This is Sierra Ocasio, and this is my blog. I will be talking about a variety of topics, raw and uncut at times, about my spiritual journey. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Okay. Two-step with it. Hey, take a step back. Hey. I just wanted to put that on for you guys. I'm in high vibes. I'm in a good mood today. I hope you guys are doing great today. And that song just brings me back to home, brings me back to Maryland, giving me cookout, electric slide vibes. So I'm on that type of time today. I hope you guys are doing well. And I want to just go ahead and start with the topic today. The topic today is, are you triggered? I know that has came up a lot this week for me, and I just want to bring this blog in so we can help each other navigate through our triggers. So I know that word trigger kind of makes you cringe on the inside, but today we're going to acknowledge them. We're going to find ways to heal our triggers so that we can navigate through them. So stay tuned. So I wanted to start this blog by acknowledging that there are tools that we can do when we feel triggered. So feeling triggered is when you have that moment where you're around a certain person, place, or thing, and your body just cringes. You feel instant anger. You feel huge amounts, maybe even sadness. It might bring you back to a place that you don't want to remember. It's about your triggers and your trauma, your things that have happened in your life that, trigger you, that you don't want to relive that moment again. But how can we navigate through these things? By acknowledging that, okay, this is me being triggered. I can navigate through it. I can breathe. I can figure out what is causing these triggers. So the first thing, how do you navigate it? Well, first step is notice when you are being judgmental, critical, blaming, or pausing, or feeling extreme amount of emotions. When you feel jealous, angry, self-pity, ask yourself, what does this core, issue come from? What is underneath these triggers and emotions? So first thing you need to do is practice seeing yourself and others. Because when we are able to acknowledge our triggers, we can notice that not only are we human, but there are other people out there who are just like us. So by not being judgmental, we are being triggered by what other people do. We are, on Facebook writing paragraphs because of someone else's opinion. Take a step back and breathe. Just take a moment to yourself. Practice, being honest with yourself. Okay, that person triggered me on Facebook today. They brought up a topic that I didn't like. Go within. Why does that bother you? Why does that topic or that person or that place or thing bother you? So I'm going to start with me today. So I felt triggered this week, and one of the things that were brought to the surface this week is that I do not like when people talk to me a certain way. I have an issue with tones. And I had to go back to my childhood. I wasn't re-triggering myself. I was just acknowledging the fact that there was a piece of me that was feeling this self-doubt, this cringe when a certain person talked to me this week. And I went back and I was like, okay, let me breathe. Acknowledge that this person may not know what they're doing. Acknowledge that, I can navigate through these emotions. So I went back and I was like, okay, you don't like when people talk to you like a child because you have school trauma. You have trauma when, you were different in school, teachers didn't acknowledge you, or that teacher would tell your mom that you're learning differently and they would talk to you a certain way because they didn't acknowledge that you just were a different kind of learner. Schools are, our childhood trauma or inner child healing is very important. You're going to hear me talk a lot about inner child healing. So this week I needed to focus on healing my inner child. That I didn't, get angry at the person. I didn't tell the person that, I don't like the way you're talking to me. I could have in that moment, but I noticed that they weren't the issue. It was me. It was my trigger. I needed to take accountability for my own trigger and not lash out at that person because they didn't know I felt triggered. I could have said, hey, let's talk to me a different way. And that could have caused conflict. So instead of me being reactive, instead of me attacking that person, I just went within myself. I acknowledged that I wasn't liking how the person was talking to me. So I needed to go back maybe this week and do some inner child healing. So that may have looked like me just, talking to my therapist or going outside and playing in nature because nature brings me back to a great place in my childhood. These things can help you navigate through your traumas. So notice the first step that I took was acknowledging the emotion, taking a step back and deep breathing. That's number one. That's one way of acknowledging a trigger. Just feeling the emotion of where did this come from? Observe and don't react. I didn't yell at the person for making me feel that way. I didn't attack the person. I didn't write a paragraph on Facebook about how that person made me feel. I just observed and I didn't react to the situation. I just took a deep breath in and said, Sierra, how can you handle this? And I created a navigation. I went outside, I took a walk, I journaled my feelings, and I let it go. Heal your triggers, get to the root of it, and let it go. Don't manifest any more anger into your body. Don't allow anyone to take control of your emotions because once you give permission for that emotion or that person to have control over your emotion, you give them power. And instead of them, taking that power from you, use that inner emotions to create something better for yourself. So another aspect that I want to talk about healing our triggers is shadow work. Shadow work was huge for me often because it was major on my journey. This was important steps that I needed to take so that I could be a better person, so that I wasn't reactive, that I wasn't overly absorbing and feeling like I was sacrificing myself for other people's because they had control over how I felt. I was no longer giving people control and saying things like, I do not give this trigger permission to have control over my life. No longer living in fear. We don't have to live in fear. We can live in peace and live in a space of love. So moving forward, letting go, being grateful. So shadow work. So a few years back in my self-discovery, wanting to learn about myself, I took a course which I talk about often in this blog. I took a course, and in the course there is a special training. It's called Healing the Shadow. And when I did shadow work, it was pieces of myself that I didn't want to acknowledge. It's kind of like your kitchen junk drawer. You kind of don't even go into it. You know that there's stuff in there and you just leave it alone. It stays junk and it just doesn't get acknowledged at all. So this is your subconscious mind and where you hold things in the subconscious. So this meditation that I did in this class, it teaches you how to meet your shadow. So imagine this. I'm deep breathing, I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling, and I'm getting deep into this meditation. So the intention was set that you meet your shadow and that this is an aspect of you that needs to come to light. Because when we have triggers and we have trauma, when our triggers come about, these are just aspects of ourselves that needs attention, that needs love, that needs us to embrace it, not re-trigger ourselves, not live through that trauma again, but to embrace that there's something here that is not allowing me to move forward in life. It's controlling my emotions. And that is fear, sadness, depression, all of these things. So I'm in the meditation and I open the door and I'm in a white room. And then you see this shadow aspect. There was hair missing and, not to creep you guys out, but this was an aspect of me that was neglected. This was me of years of self-sacrificing, living in fear, allowing others to control aspects of me and not allowing myself to walk into my power. And when you got to your shadow, when I got to my shadow bit me. And I was, I just took a step back. I didn't go into fear. I didn't feel, because it was me. This was a part of me that I just neglected. So when it bit me, I said, why did my shadow bite me? It's because of all of these aspects of me I didn't want to deal with. And I just put it in the shadows. I shoved it down. I didn't acknowledge it, but I didn't even know that was an aspect of me that I had done. So this was teaching me that these were parts of me that needed to come to light, that I needed to acknowledge, take responsibility for, so that I can have a better way of dealing with things. So when in the meditation, it asks you to connect with your shadow. And I asked my shadow, I said, what do you need from me? How can I help you integrate into me? How can I allow these aspects of me to come to light? And my shadow says to me, she says, I just want you to acknowledge me. I just want you to pay attention to me. I just want you to let go of your insecurities. And I just want you to shine and walk into your power. And I want you to start taking care of yourself and love yourself more. And I said, okay, I will make it a habit of coming to visit you. And I will make it a habit of making better decisions on how I'm no longer going to allow my life to be in a cycle of chaos. So in order for me to heal my shadow, I started journaling, I started meditating, and of course, I started going to therapy, which I talked about in my other blogs. So in therapy, she taught me, why are you self-sacrificing yourself for others? And it triggered me. When she said that to me, it triggered me. She was like, acknowledge what I'm saying to you. Why are you self-sacrificing yourself? And I thought about it. She said this at the end of our session. She said, I want you to think about that this week. I want you to think about what I just said. So I spent that week. And when I came back to her the next time, I was like, I spent a lot of time not being myself. I spent a lot of time not forgiving other people. So when you feel triggered, go in a space of love and say, I forgive. I forgive those. Well, first, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for allowing things to manifest. Forgive yourself for allowing these triggers and these fears to have control over your life. And for me, it was forgiving myself for not acknowledging that I needed love for me first before I could pour into anyone else. I needed to be an example for myself before I, went out into the world. So when you are healing your triggers, do things like writing down ways to forgive. And it's not about reconnecting. I'm not asking you to go and reconnect with that person that hurt you. I'm not asking you to reconnect with that job that, just caused you so much pain. I'm asking you to reconnect in with yourself, because you are the creator of your own reality. You give permission for these things to trigger you. So how can you navigate them? By acknowledging, I need to forgive myself so that I can forgive others for the things and the traumas that have happened in my life. And you don't have to let them manifest or have control over your life anymore. So take that time and just breathe. take accountability, navigate through your triggers, and what can you do so that you can navigate your life and be at peace? Because a lot of us don't know what peace looks like because we're in constant state of being triggered. You can't go to that state anymore because it brings you bad memories. You can't go into that store. I used to not be able to go into my old job anymore because it caused me so many issues and it brought me so many bad memories that I would not go into my old job. And it was a grocery store and I needed to get groceries. So it was like, okay, take a step back, Sierra. Why is it bothering you? You need to get a banana. You need to get lunch for tomorrow. You need to go to this store because, this is what you need to do. So I couldn't allow that fear to manifest or that trigger to stop me from living my everyday life. So I want you guys to take a step back. If you feel triggered this week, don't write that long paragraph cussing someone out. Don't slash your ex-boyfriend's tires because he made you feel some type of way. Don't get angry. Don't, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm saying take a step back and say, I'm okay. I can do this. This rooted issue needs attention. And I'm okay with being triggered, but how can I get through it? So by getting through it, it's finding something to turn your negative aspects of yourself into something positive, because we are flipping pieces of ourselves and turning it into positivity. So one thing I would do when I was doing shadow work and I was healing my triggers is that I would write down things that would trigger me. I would write down 5 things or 5 negative aspects, and I would flip them into something positive. For example, I don't like how, like I said, I don't like when people talk to me like a child. And that flip that into something positive. It's, I embrace that I am a powerful, loving woman who communicates naturally, and I take accountability and I can help others communicate properly. Because by my trigger, I noticed that I can flip it into something positive and maybe I can change someone else's life by my trigger. Because I'm pretty sure there's someone else out there who feels the same way I do. So just know that, go within, know that you are not alone, and know that there are other people out there who get triggered about the same thing you may get triggered with. And how can you know that there's a oneness with this? We are all one. We all struggle. We all go through things. We all have our traumas. It may look different for you. You may have gone through something way more traumatic than I did, but we all struggle. We all go through things. And it's taking a step back and saying, I am powerful because I went through these things, and I can go through life not only changing myself, but I can change the world by the things that have happened in my life. So triggers are just you needing to say to yourself is that, okay, I can flip this negative aspect of me and turn it into something powerful, positive, and understand that there's a oneness behind it. Go for a walk. Tell yourself that you are a powerful being. Tell yourself that you are loved. Tell yourself you're going to take time out to heal these aspects of you. So the affirmation for this blog today is, I am grateful for these emotions and what they have taught me. And I take full responsibility in healing these aspects of me. I let these emotions go and I move forward with grace. So someone on TikTok said that the way they healed their triggers or their inner child was to go buy a toy that their parents couldn't afford. So this week, do something small, like going to the dollar store or going to Walmart and find a toy that your parents couldn't afford or you couldn't afford to get and buy it for yourself. buy flowers that boyfriend didn't buy you. Go find that favorite tea that you like, or go to Starbucks and treat yourself. Do something to treat yourself. So I would like to thank you all for listening, and I want you to acknowledge, are you triggered? Thank you for listening, and catch you in the next blog.